Alright, gentlemen, command staff, let's settle in and focus up. We're skipping the usual onboarding today because, well, the situation on the ground demands your absolute, immediate attention. Consider this explainer your definitive threat assessment dossier for the anomaly we've designated SCP-610. Look, standard containment, that's completely out the window at this point. We are now strictly in a high-stakes management and mitigation phase. The intel we're going over today is highly classified and, frankly, I'm not asking for your attention. I'm requiring it. You've all been pulled from your respective sites because we are facing a crisis that is threatening to completely outpace our current operational parameters. Now this anomaly, it's classified as Keter. And for those of you who just got bumped up to this security clearance, let me make it crystal clear what that actually means. A Keter classification dictates that this anomaly is exceedingly difficult to contain consistently or reliably. It represents an active, hostile, and highly complex biological threat. Make absolutely no mistake, gentlemen. We aren't studying this thing in some sterile, cozy lab. We are fighting tooth and nail just to keep it locked down inside a quarantine zone that is literally rotting from the inside out. So here's how this briefing's gonna go down. First, we'll do a threat overview. Then, containment and security protocols. Third, known vectors of infection. Fourth, pathology and mutation stages. And we'll wrap up with field operations and surveillance. Memorize this structure, because the information in these 5 operational pillars is literally all that's standing between our current perimeter and a global, uncontainable biological cascade.
Alright, moving right into Section 1, Threat Overview. Let's look at how this nightmare actually started down in southern Siberia.
The way local authorities collapsed here was just terrifyingly swift. At 0 hours, we started getting whispers through our covert channels about a few isolated farmers vanishing near Lake Baikal. You know, the kind of stuff that usually just gets brushed off as local crime. But by hour 72, total deafening radio silence. The local cops, the regional reinforcements, even a government agent they sent in, all of them just vanished into the exclusion zone without a single trace. Right after that, the Russians sent in a small military contingent. They ran right into the anomaly and, well, they rapidly withdrew in complete shattered disarray. That is exactly when the Foundation was contacted and assumed direct, absolute control. The main takeaway you need to grasp here is how quickly conventional authority dissolved. In 3 days, an entire regional infrastructure was swallowed whole. On to Section 2, Containment and Security Protocols. We're talking strict isolation and our scorched earth directives. Right now, we're holding a massive, heavily fortified perimeter, playing it off to the public as a Russian military operation. Now listen to me, these are your absolute rules of engagement. Burn them into your brain, because deviating from them will get you court-martialed, assuming you even survive. First, you engage any SCP-610 entity at range using small arms until it stops moving completely. Once it's immobile, you dispatch it using incendiary weapons from the maximum possible distance. Let me be perfectly clear, there is zero tolerance for physical contact, none. If one of your operatives touches an infected organism, they are legally dead to us. They are entirely expendable. Foundation law requires immediate termination and incineration of that subject, period. And if there is a proximity breach within 3 meters, you withdraw immediately, isolate yourself, and await a remote medical exam. Hesitation in executing these protocols is a Keter-level breach, and we will treat it as treason. Understood? Okay, Section 3, Known Vectors of Infection. Let's break down both physical and particulate transmission. So how does this thing actually spread? Well, as we learned the hard way, the primary vector is direct physical contact with infected biological matter. But do not make the fatal mistake of thinking you're safe just because you haven't touched anything. We've pulled airborne drone samples from deep inside the hot zones, and they show these tiny floating particulates. When those particulates hit organic compounds, they trigger a really insidious spread over a period of several days. The air itself inside the quarantine zone is completely compromised. Honestly, taking a breath of unfiltered air in the red zone is a death sentence. It's just a slower one. Now, this exposure acceleration matrix is something every single field commander needs to know by heart. Direct physical contact, that demands immediate termination. No waiting around. If you're dealing with a blind infected entity, you maintain a strict 30-meter safe distance at all times. But here is the most critical part. If those airborne particulates come into contact with exposed lung or liver tissue, the biological growth rate explodes so fast that the entire testing environment, or the compromised operative, has to be completely incinerated within 24 hours tops. Even just a 2-hour slip-up with this specific type of exposure could literally compromise a whole Foundation facility. This contagion absolutely thrives on internal organs.
Moving into Section 4, Pathology and Mutation Stages. It is absolutely crucial you understand the biological reality of SCP-610.
Alright, we're going to methodically walk through exactly how this infection plays out. You'll need some clinical detachment here, gentlemen, because it gets grim, and you can't let it compromise your operational clarity. Step 1 starts with a rash, severe itching, and really high skin sensitivity. A lot of people mistake it for a common skin condition, which is a fatal error. By step 2, which hits in just 3 to 5 hours, this heavy, thick scar tissue just rapidly materializes and completely consumes the chest, arms, legs, and back. Then comes step 3, complete cessation of life functions for about 3 minutes. It's clinical death. But then, step 4, they revivify. They wake up operating at 2 to 3 times the normal human activity rate, and that's immediately followed by this massive, totally random, multi-limb mutation. We're talking elongating heads, limbs splitting open, flesh branching out in ways that just completely defy terrestrial biology. Oh, and hear this critical warning for your operatives. Exposure to high temperatures can accelerate this whole gruesome timeline down to just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You also need to firmly grasp the 2 very distinct phases of this anomaly's life cycle. First up, you have the living infected. These things are openly and relentlessly aggressive. If they have sight and they spot uninfected personnel, they will actively hunt you down, driven by pure predatory impulse. They are your immediate physical threat on the ground. But then, you have the environmental infected. Eventually, under conditions we still don't fully understand, they just stop moving. They physically root themselves right into the environment, basically terraforming and consuming the inanimate objects around them. They're creating a fleshy, hospitable zone to fuel even more growth. They aren't just surviving out there, they are literally building a horrific new ecosystem meant to overwrite our own.
Finally, Section 5, Field Operations and Surveillance. Let's talk about our classified intelligence gathering.
Because the living infected are so hyper-aggressive, sending Foundation staff in for direct observation in the primary zone is entirely off the table. Any human presence just leads to unintended infections, feeds the anomaly, and swells its ranks. So every single piece of actionable intel we pull from these terraformed villages, it's gathered strictly by artificial remote robots and drones. We send machines, gentlemen, because to SCP-610, human flesh is nothing but fuel.
And that limitation has led to a pretty grim track record of operational escalation. If you review the field logs, we started with L1, just deploying remote rovers to Site A to look for missing personnel. By L2, things were bad enough that we were forced to send in infected Class D personnel, strapped with video telemetry just to get deeper into the hazard zones. Then L3 and L4 marked the discovery and unmanned exploration of massive subterranean tunnel entrances opening up right beneath the infected settlements. Yeah, the anomaly isn't just spreading outward, it's digging down. L5 was our first manned exploration of those Site A tunnels. The casualties and the highly classified data we pulled from that mission lead directly to L6, Operation Source Point, and that directive is strictly limited to Class A personnel only.
Which brings us to the end of this threat briefing, and leaves us with one seriously chilling directive to ponder. We already know the surface is lost to the flesh, but as Operation Source Point kicks off, we are forced to ask ourselves, what kind of anomalous biological terraforming is waiting for our teams down in those massive, cavernous networks expanding deep beneath the infected settlements? We've all seen the absolute nightmare this contagion unleashes on the surface in just a matter of hours. Prepare your teams for the reality of what lies below. Godspeed, gentlemen. Briefing dismissed. This concludes today's briefing. If you wish to maintain your current clearance level and ensure continued access to the Versarian database, a subscription to this channel is mandatory. Secure your connection by leaving a like on this file, and log your requests in the comments section below to dictate which anomaly we unseal next. Stay vigilant and expect your next set of logs every day. Secure, contain, protect.